And live from the Accra International Conference Center, this is the media launch of the Ghana Compact 2022. Distinguished invited guests, friends from the media, our viewers on Adom TV, our listeners on CTFM, and on all and online platforms, welcome to the launch of a compact that is hoping to set Ghana's economic and political transformation on its very important trajectory. My name is Bernard Avle. I'm a reporter and a journalist with CTFM, CTTV. I'm your MC moderator for the day. We want to thank all of you for joining us in person here and online via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all the newfangled social media outlets. Today's program will bring to light very important discussions that have been held by ordinary Ghanaians about where they see the country's future, happening at a very interesting time for our country. I want to acknowledge some of our key dignitaries in the program, but before I do that, I feel it's an important morning to bring a poetry recital to set us all at ease and to give us some issues to reflect on. So before we introduce anybody, I'd like to bring up my very good friend, one of Ghana's most erudite poets, the very eloquent and gifted Chief Mumin, to set the ball rolling. Please welcome Chief Mumin.
God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation truly great and strong. There was a time in this country when it felt the Ghanaian was invincible. Our pride and confidence was palpable. We were a lighthouse of hope on the stormy seas of a besieged continent haunted by colonial memories. This was the marker of the Pan-African, of the revolutionary, of the freedom fighter. We shot for our dreams like a rocket into the frightening uncertainty of space. We were a new nation on our infant legs, taking giant steps, and boy, did we make some strides. Ghana needed to succeed to carry the rest of the continent along. And so across the length and breadth of this country, we worked to deliver on the ideals that inspired our liberation. Ideals of a free, prosperous, industrialized nation, a people who were confident in themselves and were ready to show the world that we are capable of managing our own affairs. But somehow, somewhere, within the labyrinth of our checkered history, our dreams froze mid-air, suffered an amputation, and we stood by and watched the rest of the world fly by. How is it that from the promise of a great nation, it seemed we have become a broken generation? It seems our young have become disillusioned, and some would rather make the perilous journey across the impossible Sahara over the deadly Mediterranean in search of the mirage of greener pastures than take a chance with their own motherland. Many are at home surfing the internet looking for a route to escape. And some are even beginning to question whether our current democratic structures can deliver on the prosperity that we so seek. And so these are the weighty matters that set on us today. Can we dream again? Can we spark that invincible spirit again? Can we once again work to deliver on the ideals that inspired our liberation? Can we create the future we want? Can we bring together the Ghana Compact that would lead this new dimension in our history at this crucial moment of our lifetime? These are the weighty matters we consider today. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation truly great and strong.
Thank you, Chief Mumin, for always finding the words to express our greatest hopes and aspirations. Chief Mumin, a celebrated poet. Please put your hands together one more time for him. Welcome our viewers on Adom TV. We welcome our listeners on 97.3 CDFM. welcome our online audience on Adom TV Online and on the Facebook and YouTube pages of ACET. This is the media launch of the Ghana Compact, coming to you live from the Accra International Conference Center. Having set the scene for us, I think it's important to now hear from, I think we can call him the convener. We're looking for the right adjective to use. He's led this process very firmly, but quietly. And I noticed he has a new haircut. And I don't know when he took the haircut, but he will come and give us his opening remarks, which I suspect will give us a better sense of where we've come from with this compact, where we are, and where we're going. Distinguished guests, please help me welcome Dr. K.Y. Amoako. Please put your hands together for him. And there's a prize for who can guess the name of the haircut.
As we mourn the death of this great son of Ghana. If you will, please stand with me for a moment of silence in his honor and to pay tribute to our departed friend. Thank you. In inclusive spirit, let us continue. To start, allow me to express my deep appreciation to our moderator, Ben Avley, not only for his support today, but also for his contributions to Ghana and his passion for a well-informed and vibrant citizenry. Thank you, Ben. You have our well-earned respect and admiration. Distinguished guests, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues, thank you all for being here today, for coming together to join me and each other as we embark on something new for Ghana, something that will harness our shared hope for the future of this country through a new sense of unity, urgency, and action. Today, I'm proud to officially launch what we call the Compact for Political and Economic Transformation in Ghana. The Compact will be an agreement between citizens and government, regardless of who is in power, on the direction of travel for our country, and on the vision and principles that underpin our democracy. It will be an agreement on ways to address our current pressing challenges head-on by bringing more voices to the table and putting policy before politics. It will be an agreement on the values we want to uphold as a nation. These are lofty goals, but they are not unattainable. We need a new approach and new solutions to create the Ghana we want. The compact will bring us closer to these solutions. It has concrete ideas, committed collaborators, and a clear way forward. But the time to act is now. Let me explain why. 2 years ago this month, Ghana held its last national election. We know what happened. We saw deep political and social division. We saw a country in crisis. It wasn't the first time. Recent elections have produced a deepening sense of worry about the foundations of our democracy and in turn the future of our country. The growing polarization of our politics is drawing us further and further apart when we need to work in closer and closer together. In private and in discussions with colleagues, I began to consider some of the underlying factors that lead us to these problems every 4 years. A constitution that is no longer fit for Ghana's purposes. A fiscal framework that has led to big budget deficits and excessive borrowing. Frequent changes in policy direction, which makes development planning difficult, if not impossible, over the long term. These challenges alone are daunting, but there are many more that touch all segments of society and hold us back. For example, we struggle to translate our abundant natural resources and human resources into economic and social well-being. We struggle to engage, inspire, and most importantly, employ our youth, the very future of our country. And we struggle to honor the values that have long bound us together as a people: hard work and ethical behavior, honesty and integrity, equality and respect. The election in 2020 and its aftermath laid these struggles bare, and they proved to be a catalyst for me. Enough is enough, I thought. We can't go on this way. I have spent my entire career, more than 50 years, in African development. I've had the honor and privilege of working closely with policymakers and leaders across the continent. I am a proud Pan-Africanist, but foremost, I am a proud Ghanaian. I was 13 years old at independence. I grew up in Ghana, and I've lived through our post-colonial journey. The ups and downs, the successes, and the setbacks. Ghana has so many reasons to be proud. We have been at the forefront of African independence, African democracy, and citizen empowerment. We are known as Africa's Black Star, but we are also Africa's North Star. We have led and others have followed. Yet we have not fully realized our country's potential. We have not yet achieved the Ghana we want for ourselves or for future generations. This is why I developed the Ghana Compact, to seek a new, more hopeful and inclusive way to tackle the fundamental challenges we face, and to do so with a sense of urgency that the situation demands. We are quickly approaching another election cycle. Rather than repeat the patterns of the past, let us fix what has gone wrong together as a nation. Before the 2024 campaign begins in earnest, we have a window of opportunity to start doing things differently, to build a national consensus around Ghana's biggest challenges and opportunities, and to set a unified vision with clear goals and measurable targets. To create the Ghana we want, we need new political and constitutional reforms that help end extreme political division and polarization. To create the Ghana we want, we need policies that will lead to improvements in our fiscal health, to unlock greater and more responsible investment in our country's development. To create the Ghana we want, we need gender equality and major improvements in the health, education, and skills of our people. And we need committed vision of economic transformation and a strong system that will ensure leaders stick to the plans that will get us there. This is what the compact aims to achieve. But please, let me be clear. This is just the beginning. Next year, and even through the 2024 election, it is still just the beginning. The compact will put in place citizen-driven systems to monitor and measure progress towards our goals over the long term, across future elections and political administrations for the next quarter century. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, what we start today is no small effort. What we seek of you, no small ask. To be successful, the compact will need the commitment of all Ghanaians, regardless of background, religion, political party, age, or gender. It will need selflessness. It will need compromise. But if we are successful, we have laid the foundation for something truly incredible. Agreeing on a common vision and a roadmap for Ghana will help make our elections more about the issues and less about the politics. It will help our government focus on national interest over party interest. And it will help empower us as citizens to take more responsibility for our country's development as we journey towards a better, more secure future. My journey will one day come to an end. And the future belongs to my children and grandchildren, and to your children and your grandchildren. What kind of future will they have? What legacy we will leave them? These are the questions to consider as we go forward, working together to turn our fortunes around, to create the Ghana we want, for ourselves and for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, KY. Very clear, very sobering, but also equally very hopeful. I think he deserves another round of applause. Dr. KY Amoako. Still live on Adom TV, still live on City FM. This is the launch of the Ghana Compact. Not to reiterate what he said, but to give you a sense of the timeline. Sometime August this year, technical papers were presented. They were peer-reviewed, discussions were held. If you look at the timeline for the Compact program, the launch is just the second item, and we are thinking beyond, because from next year there will be national consultations, there will be citizen engagements. We're hoping that we will capture the attention of Ghanaians before the election, as he said, and even after the election. In fact, our plans are up to 2035, there's a big national convention. So it's not only your bonds that will be paid in future, we are also thinking in future. In fact, if you look on the timeline, I wish they could project it somewhere, we have a national convention in 2045. So even Ken is 2037. We are 2045. Those of you who still be here, we will be planning for Ghana's future. Put your hands together for the Compact team. Wonderful. So I'm sure if you have the media pack, you would have seen the timelines. This is a long drawn project. So it's not a hit and miss at all. So thank you, KY, for setting the coordinates for that. We now want to bring upstage one of the very important constituencies of people we have engaged within this compact. In Ghana, usually you have lots of older people discussing things for the young people. But this compact process has been careful to not just be gender inclusive, but also age inclusive. And we want to bring up one of the important voices in our land to bring us her vision or her concept of the vision of the youth. She is with the Northern Youth Network, and she's called Radia Chentiwuni. Radia would bring to us the youth perspective on the vision for Ghana and why this compact is so critical for our young people. Please give her a resounding round of applause.
Thank you very much. Distinguished invited guests, pressmen and women, ladies and gentlemen. It's a singular honor for me to be part of this event and to represent my generation. This means a lot to me as a person and to other young men and women. In many ways, Ghana has done so well for herself. We're a country born out of passion, sacrifice, and patriotism. We have been blessed with abundant natural and human resources. We have an enviable track record when it comes to democracy, especially when we are compared to our peers in the sub-region. However, despite all these advantages and blessings, we face complex challenges that hold us back, especially in the absence of critical and deliberate intergenerational ideas. I fear for the youth of the country. Our trouble starts with an educational system in need of reform that better prepares us to join the world of work. How do we build the Ghana we want when we cannot translate the natural talents of young people into formidable workforce to drive economic transformation? While youth unemployment remains a major cause of emigration from Ghana, the country also has one of the highest emigration rates of professional skilled workers, according to a 2015 report by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. According to European Union estimates, 33.8% of immigrants from Ghana living in OECD countries possess medium skills, while 27.6% have high skills. It's tragic that we are forced to leave our own country while we should stay to work together for the future we want. Today brings a renewed hope that we can. Today sets a new vision for our nation that will transform the lives of future generations. With the launch of the Ghana Compact, I see a Ghana with a development plan that prioritizes accountable, inclusive, and transparent governance, a Ghana that provides quality education and leadership for the youth, a country that has values and principles with young people leading the change. What would I like to see change for this to happen? I would like a revolution. And when I talk about a revolution, I do not mean a coup. I mean a cultural shift so that more young people are in the positions to lead this country. By definitions of Ghana youth policy, young people are between the ages of 15 to 35. We are considered mature enough to start voting at age 18, but the average age of our House parliamentarians is 49. How can this be inclusive when we are more than 35% of the population? All the stabilization plans for revamping the economy have only intensified the hopelessness of the youth. The severe hardships placed on Ghanaians, especially young people, is a threat to the security of our dear country. I say we have had enough. Enough of rising unemployment rates. Enough of unsustainable job creation and opportunities. Enough of bias and underrepresentation at the decision-making table. Ghana can no longer continue along with this path if we want to survive and maintain our record as an example to the rest of Africa. It's very crucial to pause at this moment and reflect, re-strategize, and recommit to building the Ghana we want. It's imperative that young voices are heard and given the opportunity to contribute and share fresh ideas to address the challenges we face, ideas that will positively change lives. To build the Ghana we want, Young people should be seen as key players and partners in economic transformation and development. The era of overlooking young people in the design, implementation, and monitoring of programs should be long gone. The United Nations have recognized that young people are major human resources for development and key agents for social change, economic growth, and technological innovation. There's the need to make deliberate and conscious efforts towards strengthening youth participation and engagement to attain the Ghana we want. Recognizing that young people are assets, not simply viewing them as lacking capacity or being deprived by circumstances, is very vital to attaining sustainable development. Ghana will continue to be the enviable nation within African countries if we prioritize the inclusion of young people in all issues of economic and national development. In the unity and progress of a nation rests the respect and welfare of the young people. My name is Isakura Diachintuni, and I represent the youth of Ghana. Thank you.
Wow. Radia, you represented us well. We the youth. And it's very confusing. I don't know. You know, in Ghana, you are a small boy until you are 50. You know, so, but Radia, we are part of you. I mean, the youth. So, and the word revolution has become a very serious word. So when you say revolution, people's hearts started beating. But I will join your revolution. Wonderful. We're live across the country for the launch of the Ghana Compact. And if you are wondering, we have a couple of suggested hashtags. The Ghana we want. The Ghana. If you don't know what a hashtag is, it means you don't belong in this conference. Okay, it means you are not youth. All right. The Ghana we want. The other hashtag suggested is Ghana Compact. But we just want to aggregate all the views around this. Since it's a conversation that's going to be long drawn, all the comments on social media around the Ghana we want will be put together. We could even publish those comments, but it will be part of the citizen engagement process. And there are lots of citizens on social media. So if you're watching this online, you want to contribute to the discussion, put out your comment with the hashtag the Ghana we want or simply Ghana Compact, and it will find its way to the right place. Moving on from Radia, we're going to the other extreme, not in age, but just in terms of experience now. Dr. Mohamed Ibn Chambers has been a core part of the discussions around this compact. And he sent a video not too long ago endorsing the compact and also situating it within the larger context of what's happening across the continent. We know Dr. Chambers and all the work is done, not just in Africa for the ACP group. He is a veritable sage in that space. So even though he's not here, we would give him the same courtesy we get Radia. Round of applause for Dr. Chambers as we play his short video.
Economic transformation is a timely and welcome initiative. Our country has a track record of setting the pace, cutting pathways to new approaches in redressing political and socio-economic challenges of different epochs. And so it was that we blazed a trail to African political independence, triggering the decolonization of sub-Saharan Africa. In the 1980s and 90s, Ghana led the way in the political and economic reforms that set in motion democratization processes and unleashed impressive economic growth that earned Africa the accolade, the hopeful continent. And there was even talk of an African Renaissance. However, 30 or so years on, there are genuine concerns about the retreat, the erosion, or the decline of democracy in West Africa and indeed across Africa. Coup d'etat in Burkina Faso, Chad, Guinea, Egypt, Mali, and Sudan are worrying examples of a return to a past that many had thought we had put behind us. Poverty remains widespread. Inequalities have widened, and populations have not experienced the dividend of democracy. Disillusionment, frustration, and disappointment have grown. In many countries, ruling parties engage in actions that undermine electoral integrity, inclusiveness, and legitimacy, thereby threatening stability, peace, and security. There are instances when judiciary have been instrumentalized against political opponents, the independence of police and security forces compromised, accountability and oversight institutions emasculated. Some states have clearly undermined fairness, rule of law, and human rights, the hallmarks of democratic norms and standards. Brazen steps have been taken by some leaders to manipulate constitutions to elongate their tenures in office. The winner-takes-all mentality has fostered a do-or-die attitude, state capture, the monetization of politics, corruption, and impunity. Alongside the deterioration in governance has been a deepening of socioeconomic crisis characterized by negative and slow growth, high youth unemployment, widening fiscal deficits, huge debt burdens, and a worsening of the standard of living of the poor and vulnerable. The root causes of these problems are historical, structural, constitutional, institutional, and attitudinal. Vulnerability to external shocks, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, the current global economic crisis, or the climate crisis, only expose further failure or a lack of long-term strategic policies or programs. There is also the persistent inability to arrive at such policies and programs through genuine, inclusive, and consensual dialogue and consultations. Here is where the compact for political and economic transformation becomes imperative. And where else to embark on such a transformational journey than in Ghana? Our country remains a leader in African stability and governance despite current, evidently serious economic crisis, which has sent us back to the IMF for the 17th time in 3 decades. The time is now to correct course and to turn our fortunes around. We must recalibrate our systems and approaches to make them smart and responsive to the challenges of the times. This is why over the past year, I have supported and worked with my good friend and brother, Dr. Amoako, and his colleagues as they have sought to fashion out the compact. I've personally participated in some of the consultations with wide-ranging stakeholders, public and private, government and parliament, political parties, civil society, think tanks, leaders of thought, labor leaders, the media, cultural activists, etc. It is my hope and expectation that the compact pioneered in Ghana will be a template for states in the sub-region and across Africa to address the deficit in democratic governance and persistent poverty and socio-economic challenges which more than 60 years after political independence still exists. I wish you a successful launch of the compact. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chambers, for your endorsement, and we are so grateful for your time. We're still live here at the conference center for the launch of the Ghana Compact, and we're going to segue into two very important conversations. And the conversation that will be moderated by Shamima is a values conversation. And Shamima, I was at a wedding when Ghana was playing Uruguay. You know, I wanted to spare myself the heartache. And it was funny because even though, you know, usually at a wedding, the sermons are very long. But for some reason, everybody was focusing on the game. So the preacher preached like just 5 minutes. And I'm sure the poor guy, as he was preaching, the day you missed the penalty. So he was, I don't know what he said, but everyone was like, ooh. It's like, what have I said? You know, so, and then I think the Uruguayan scored during the sermon. So the guy said, let me just end the preaching. So very short preaching. But two things came to mind during that wedding on Saturday. First thing was how people expect so much from our footballers, much more than from our politicians. In the sense that, like, they really felt let down by the day I used. Like, how could you miss against Uruguay? You know, and it dampened the wedding. And I said, well, if we can have this much hope in a 32-year-old footballer who hasn't signed any contract with us, you know, yeah, people screw us every day, bad roads V8, and we just say, hey, honorable, we can't do that. So there's a very important conversation about values. The second thing, whilst we waited for the pictures to be taken, around the 75th or 80th minute, I was asking the guy next to me, oh, what was the score? So I've stopped watching the game. I said, why have you stopped watching the game? So, 2-0 against Uruguay, I will not come back. I'm like, you are a fan. You can't even support for 90 minutes. And you want the footballers to fight for 90 minutes. So there's a problem there, right? If you can't be a proper fan for 90 minutes, how do you expect 22-year-old kids to run for 120 minutes and defend your flag? And I said, you are a problem. Because the fact that you've given up after 2-0, 78 minutes, means that, so if you were a player, what would you do then? So I feel there's a very important conversation about values, things around courage, hard work, hope, honesty, that we don't have enough in the country. It's not just about hardcore macroeconomics, whatever they call it, those things. So this is a conversation about what we hold dear, what we believe. It's not what we say, it's actually what we do. And I think the lady to moderate the panel, I've known Shamima for days. I mean, when we were in Legon, demonstrations. It's funny. He was the Deputy Minister of Education before I entered Legon, right? And he's still doing his work in the public space. So not all politicians want to chop our money necessarily. Not all of them end up stealing our money. Some of them fight for our good, like Chambers, right? And so Shamima would lead a conversation with a nice spectrum of people we've selected to summarize some of the things we discussed. Because as I say, the compact, there have been conversations and we are getting more feedback. So this is to tease out some of the key values issues. Very religious society, honesty is very scarce. So we've invited two leaders of very big religions. Two men I respect a lot. Dr. Fayose is wearing his collar. Powerful. And also Sheikh Shaibu. They are very good friends. They are laughing. Shamima will deal with you today. So we have a panel. So essentially, Shamima, please put your hands together for Shamima. Shamima, yes. Shamima, Muslim. So whilst I'm talking, you are checking your mic, making sure you're at the right place. You sit in the corner, just buying time for you. Shamima will have Reverend Fayose, Sheikh Shaibu, Vera Ado from Civil Society. And she has a queen mother as well, Queen Borisa. And then a young person, Jessica Chumesi. So please put your hands together for Shamima as she brings our panel.
Hello?
Keep trying. Let me see if I can get you the other one. Is it on? No. Where's the red one? Hello, try to. Try this one. Try. Is it not on? Panel. introduce them again.
So once again, good morning. Good morning. For the task ahead, we need the energy we can master. So let's give ourselves a round of applause once again. It is said that it's only action that changes things, and that for transformation to occur, we need a critical mass. Thank you for being present, and thank you for giving us hope that we have that critical mass to change the trajectory of our nation's destiny. Give yourselves a round of applause. So I'm going to introduce my panel members again. From my immediate left, that will be Reverend Fayose, General Secretary, Christian Council. Please give him a round of applause. Sheikh Shaibu, spokesperson for the Chief Imam. Round of applause, please. Jessica Chumesi, right? Oh, Jessica is at the end. So Vera Ado, Oxfam, thank you. A round of applause. Queen Borisa, who is the Queen of Yagbon Gonja, Kingdom of Savannah region. Let's welcome her with a round of applause. And Jessica Chumesi from the National Union of Ghana Students. They say that as the man thinketh, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains. I didn't say woman, as a man thinketh. But as human beings, the mind is indeed a very powerful tool. And Bernard made mention about the importance of courage. There's a quote from Maya Angelou, and she says that courage is the most important virtue that we need, because without courage, we cannot practice any other virtue consistently. So this morning, we want to invite courage in our hearts as we really discuss what is missing in terms of the mindset for true transformation and why transformation eludes our state. Travesty, as we've been reminded that we sit on arguably one of the richest, if not the richest continent, and yet the most impoverished. So I'm going to start with a general question that all of you are invited to answer. KY tells us in his speech that there are some bottlenecks that are hindering the development and the true transformation of our country. He mentions about constitutionalism without real limits to power. He mentions about multi-party democracy that is reduced now to a duopoly between two political parties, and the extreme partisanship that is characterized, and the attendant effects on continuous development. He mentioned about indiscipline, specifically fiscal indiscipline, not only during election years, but current experience is now showing us that we can't build a country where we spend more than we can, rake in. It's inconsistent. So my question is, what the compact wishes to do in the light of this Herculean task? Do you think that there is any hope at all that this compact, this gathering of like minds, can in any way scratch the surface of the problem and lead us to a more progressive path? Reverend Fayose, I'll start with you on that in just 2 minutes or less. We have the mics. Values.
What's wrong with these guys? Thank you very much, Shamima, and thank you for the opportunity, ACET, for us to be on this panel. Your question is a really tough one. Yeah, it's like a university exam question. Yeah. Is there hope? Yes, there is hope. For a very long time, the way that we have done things in this country is that we allow the political elite to determine the course of how things are going to proceed in this country. And we do that when the political parties come and read their, what they call them, They are manifestos to us. So they sit in a room somewhere, leave out the entire nation, and then come out with things that they believe will convince us to vote for them. And then we go ahead, and if we are convinced, we vote for them. And they prosecute that agenda for some time. And then if there's a change in government, the other government also does the same thing. And so development planning is truncated. So I think this way of doing it, this compact way of doing it, the Ghana we want, starting with the think tanks in the general population, being non-partisan, consulting and engaging all the sectors of the economy, of the country, and then moving beyond that and consulting with persons at the grassroots, I believe will be a way to churn out a new path that can lead to the future we want, that can lead to a compact that will lead to political and economic transformation. Right. Thank you.
Sheikh.
Thank you very much for the question. Whether there is hope, as human, as somebody, and where the background from I come from, I say there is hope, and we cannot throw our hands into despair and say we have reached the end of our progress. Definitely, where there is life, there is. But the important thing to understand, where have we gone wrong? Where are we now? And what is it that we need to depart from the past of the wrong things that we've done and chart a new course? I'd like to make reference to Professor Adai's definition of leadership, not exactly, but to put it the way I heard him saying it. He said, leadership is about visualizing a better future. And it resonates perfectly with what we see here, the Ghana we want. In other words, and I think that there is a sense that we have had a sense of very blurred vision of where we want to take Ghana. And that is expressed in the way that we see the dichotomy or the difference between the political parties. From the beginning, even about our National Development Plan, Vision 2020 goes, we didn't see where it went. We were there. Then NDC came, Nimoy Thompson came, and then he said we should come and then meet. And then I was part of it here to express the religious point of view of it. We came and did. After that, MPP comes, another one is there. It's clear, manifesting that there's our sense of our future is so blurred. So we have not been able to get it right. And I think it is one of the things that we looked. But there is hope because you listen to the youth these days, and with all due respect to the duopoly, there are people are getting tired with the way things are being done. And you hear things that, why don't we put aside these two parties and see where we can go? It is an expression of the fact that the duopoly has not worked for us. If I see the extreme partisanship, politics is not so much about what is the best for the nation, but it's about what is the beneficial to the political party. And I think that it's important that we state that one clearly. Leadership is about mobilizing, also about determination of how to get to the better future. And that must also be clear in the way that we move. For the past, it appears to me we have not been able to get that one right. But once we have today a situation like this, where decent-minded people, truly, truly patriotic, who have a sense that politics is about leadership, it's about trust, it's about doing the best for your nation, coming together and be reflecting deeply about what is it that has gone wrong? What is this that determines a better future? What is this that reduces the gap between the poor and the rich? What is it that restrains unbridled use of power for the benefit of it and for the benefit of the citizenry? Where we have reached gives me hope that among the youth, we have just Radia now spoke to us. Bernard Ablay is one of the young people that I have listened to a lot, and sometimes he strikes me a lot as I sit in my car listening. And then you find very elderly person like older than me, Dr. Amoako, now coming to reflect. So it means that both the youth and the old can have a uniformed sense of what is the best for a nation. And I think that that has been spelled out clearly here. He spelled it, and the young lady has said it to us. And here we are. If we can really be driven by the new vision, clearly stated, establishing how the determination of the direction, there is hope. We can change the circumstance between now and whatever timeline we set to ourselves. I am now around 66 years, my age, and now there are older people. If I live for the next 40 years and I'm 100, I want to see a changed Ghana. We need a certain new breed of a Ghanaian person that has a deep sense of the love for his nation, the courage to talk about what is right and what is wrong, the honesty, the accountability, that just to get in politics does not mean you must benefit from your office, but that you think politics is the legitimate means by which you take political authority so you can give the best, leave a legacy for younger ones to come and see. Thank you.
We are definitely at a melting point. So how, Vera, I'm coming to you now. How will the compact be able to rise above this partisanship and the noise and truly create a new inclusive path?
Thank you, Shabima. I guess, okay. So I think we can all agree that it's long overdue and we all need this process. What was left is who is to start it. And so this compact started by ACET is the way to go. The politicians agree, young people, older people, and so okay. I'm so sorry. Okay, so Shabima, I think that we all agree that we need this process to go beyond the partisan and the kind of duopoly we have in our country. And I think that is long overdue. When I say it's long overdue, for a number of years we keep talking about it. How can we go beyond this kind of every 4 years we go and vote and that is the end. And then we just go and sit back. And then the party in power will continue with his campaign. We can't continue as a nation like that. And so how do we move beyond that? We wanted this, we needed this, everybody was calling for it. But what was left is that who is to start this process? And for the political parties, no, because they have their own interest. And so there's no way they will start it. We've seen them give us a lot of promises, and after they get into power, then be like, okay, we are all benefiting. Why do we want to change the process? No, the Constitution benefits us a lot. We need the ex gratia, so we won't change it. We've had members of parliament who have said, okay, we need to scrap this. We don't need it. And then they get in and realize that, oh, the money is good. And so they forget about the promises. And so this initiative is very important for us as a country. And I want to commend ACET. We need this. We needed this. I remember in 2015, we started the World We Want, and I was part of the young people. We started this campaign, moving from the Millennium Development Goals to the Sustainable Development Goals. It was a whole worldwide campaign, and we needed to hear a lot of voices. What do young people want? What do women want? What do persons with disability want? How can we have a society that it's inclusive enough for everybody to participate? And so we came out with the SDGs. And I remember at that time, I was asking myself, how can Ghana decide on the Ghana we want? I really remember, I thought that if we are looking at the global agenda, can we also have national agenda? Can we have regional agenda? Can we have district agenda? Can we have community agenda to say that this is what we want in our country, even in our community, wherever we find ourselves? Can we change the way we are doing things? We agree that on the path we are going now, it's leading us nowhere. And in fact, it is the hope that is keeping us alive and also keeping this country intact. Immediately we lose hope, it means that everything is falling apart. And so for me, I think that this is something we need to all come together and say, yes, this is what we want. If we allow We've allowed people to think that others should start. And so, yes, ACET has started. Can we all rally behind ACET and say, we can't continue on this path, and it's important for us to pause and reflect as Radia charged us. So I think that this is a good way to go.
Thank you for those opening remarks. Right. Now, Borisa, you are a member of the traditional authority. How do you feel represented by the vision that the compact, espouses?
Thank you very much. Yes, Shamima and to ACET. Let me chip in this quick correction. I am not Na. So I am Nkligiuriche Boresa Idisa Jedwa the first of the Yagbon Gunja Kingdom in the Savannah region of Ghana. I think
Thank you.
This is a very great initiative, and indeed, having us to be part of this meeting alone is a great move by ACET to bring on board traditional leadership as part of the process of having the political inclusion we want. So when Dr. Amoako spoke, he said the compact is an agreement between citizens and government. Now there is a deficit which this compact seeks to come and address. And I think that there is a lacuna between political governance and cultural governance. That is a deficit. How can we merge the two? Can there be some cohesion between political governance and traditional or cultural governance, where you don't come to us only when you need votes, you don't come to us only when you need lands, but how do you integrate chiefs, queen mothers, traditional authority into the developmental framework? There was a time some of our chiefs were arguing that, okay, can there even be a second chamber of parliament where we have traditional rulers? So the parliamentarians who are voted by the constituents are there. A second chamber made up of traditional rulers across Ghana are also there. When the thing moves from this chamber, it moves to the next chamber. Before the president assented, we as traditional leaders have a take vis-a-vis what cultural norms and practices of the people of Ghana are, the Ghana we want. When the issues of this gay rights and stuff came, we all refer to, oh, the culture, it's our culture prohibits this, our culture prohibits that. But when it comes to development, then you take us out. We want to include it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that the chieftaincy institution has a pride of place in our constitution. No government can decide in and of its own to just take it out of the constitution. So I think we have a good way to start from. And Vera, right? I keep mixing it. Jessica from the National Union of Ghana Students. They said the future belongs to the young people. How represented do you feel by this new wind that we hope will blow and truly transform this nation?
Thank you, Shama, for the question. And I would want to commend ACET for this initiative. I think it's a great one. And I would want to thank my mentor as well. We happen to be on the same platform, Vera. She actually recommended me for this. So thank you, Vera, for the opportunity. Yes. For me, I think the compact is very important, and how can we actually help this compact work? There should be a broad engagement, good representation, because, I mean, if there is no good participation, why would people want to be a part of it? If major stakeholders are not involved, why would they think there's a need for them to actually even enforce this? And again, the compact should actually have two sections. We should have the technocrats and also the political, such that there should be a part that remains untouched, regardless of which political party comes on board. There should be a place that remains untouched. And I also think this is not the first time we are trying to draft a national plan of which we would all want to follow. It has happened several times. So what makes this compact different from the other ones that we are seeing? I think over the years, one thing that is missing or is lost is that we do not see coherence in the instruments. When I say that, I think the instruments or the compact are not mostly legally binded. So when politicians or people assume offices, they do not see the need for actually towing the line or moving in line with the plan. And so going forward, there should be a legal backing that will actually make sure that politicians or people enforce this. And then with the youth, I would say I feel so happy being here, because being here alone means I've been given the space to operate, and I've also been given the voice to be heard. So thank you, ACET, and thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you so very much. So we're jumping now into the conversation proper. And because this is a value conversation, I'm going to start with you, Sheikh, first on this particular one. A couple of weeks ago, I saw Manasseh make a post that he heard there were supervisors supervising invigilators, supervising an end-of-term examination at a seminary. I just died and woke up again. I think for me, that was an awakening to perhaps where integrity is now in our society. And the religious leaders will often tell us that they are the moral voice of our society. And of course, any society without its moral voice is doomed. So next question is, many Ghanaians believe that this country has lost its moral voices and leaders. Do you agree with this thesis? If so, why? If not, why not?
I think I would sound hypocritical if I say I don't agree. I think what is statistically factual is that Ghana is a predominantly a religious country, predominantly, statistically speaking. And I can say between 90 to 95% of citizens in this country belong to one religion or the other, particularly Islam and Christianity. That is true. But that dimension only gives the public show of what religion means, phenomenologically. And we must draw the dichotomy between what is religiosity and what is righteousness. I think we are predominantly religious, but we are predominantly not righteous. And for me, it's a failure, and I want to be very honest. I say, Ghanaians, we are thankful to God. It's given us peace. It's a gift, favor that's given to us. But read us very well. Read us very well. We are envious. We hate. We are lazy. We are corrupt. We are wicked because we don't sympathize. I mean, tell many of the negatives. When it comes to work, go to workplace and see how people work. The honesty that a country needs. Because a nation is not just Ghana, it's not just that part of land on the surface of the earth that has been given the name Ghana. It includes its wealth, it includes its human beings. And human beings make a nation, and human beings destroy a nation. And that is why, I mean, pardon me, shamefully, we are telling ourselves that we've gone to IMF 17 times, a nation so much endowed. And every government that has come has accused the previous government of corruption. So if I told you you were corrupt, and I came in, and after the one, before you came, you also told me I'm corrupt. So who is the corrupt one? So, and yet, those who manage our public purse, those are the political elite, all of them, every Sunday they are in the church. I can assure you of that. Every Sunday they are in the church. Every Friday they are in the mosque. I'm an imam. I deliver sermons on Fridays. And I see some of my friends. So there's a big question over there, the impact of religion. But it is not the fault of religion, because religion has come to give us all that the best. All of the best values are there, including our traditional religion, including our cultural values. I was reading the material this morning, and Archbishop Sapon, I hope he's alive. I have not seen him for some time. You know, and he has a deep sense, though religious, Christian, Catholic, a deep sense of traditional culture. He has it. And he talks about if a citizen or a member of a community is so good in terms of doing what is right for its right sake and avoiding what is wrong. He uses the Akan expression, oh, oye nipa, or oye nipa dodo. He is truly a human being. He is a human being, but the other one says he's truly a human being. And this summarizes what we feel about the values as expressed by the human being. Come to the scriptural religions, Islam and Christianity. We all agree that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. In other words, if you can really assume the purity of God, it doesn't remain inside you, but it is fully expressed, and you see the beauty of God's purity in the way that you act. And that is why broadly sense of love thy neighbor as thyself, for example, should tell you that when you are in an office, when people have been giving you money, you are going to manage it. Every bit of your action is going to affect somebody, and you must be conscious of it. So if we know this, and it is not happening, I feel embarrassed.
So is it a failure on the side of our religious leaders? Are they themselves failing to be good examples? Because if I come sit in your church or your mosque and you preach to me on certain virtues, and I know you are the exact opposite, or you do exact opposite to what you're preaching to me, there's no integrity in that message. And if you who are supposed to be closer to God can do it and get away, me, Kojo Mensa, maybe if I also do it, I can get away with it. Sheikh, briefly, before I bring
we can
Reverend
see
Fayose in.
some facades of some of those things, among religious people. I mean, religious people like myself, we are all not perfect human beings, but we do our best. And as long as we are representatives of the virtues, and we carry what I describe as the moral mandate to be able to guide society, we must be representative of the virtues. Sometimes we do the virtue ourselves, but maybe in terms of approach, is it enough that only once on Sunday, on Friday, that I've spoken to the people? Is it enough a method to change somebody? Probably in terms of the style of our education of the people and how we have also infused that moral energy to be expressed at the family level, there is a gap. And I think those gaps is what are expressing in the weakness that we are seeing. But many of the religious people are very, very fine people. You meet them, you know. When you are close to them, you see they are people and women of integrity. But maybe it's just like a teacher in the classroom.
Right.
Having all the knowledge, all right, but he has a very bad method of teaching. He cannot make a good student. But if he improves, he has the core knowledge. And yet he also has the skills to impart. Now, impartation of knowledge leads to learning. Learning is a relatively permanent change of behavior as a lot of experience. Once you teach people and you do not see the change, learning hasn't taken place.
Right.
And I think our knowledge of the learning skills is a problem for many of the religious people, and that accounts for the gap we see.
Very well. So there's a gap. Reverend Fayose, to you, I mean, the example I gave about having supervisors at an exam in a seminary, that's is that profound to you as a religious person, and the way money now is worshipped, even in our religious spaces?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shamima. I believe that religious persons are as human as any other person. And as a religious person, I believe in the fallenness of humanity. So it's not just ordinary persons who are tempted by sin and fall into sinful situations. Even the very religious of us have the same problem. So I am not surprised at all that we will have invigilators in an examination hall, even in a seminary. But I must say that when I was in seminary, someone sold granules and water in front of the seminary, and there was no one attending it. You go pick the water, the cold water, drop your money in, take the change for yourself, and it went on for a long time until one of the children of the lecturers decided to steal some of these things, and that stopped. So the point is that we are very human. Regarding the question of whether we have lost the moral voice, I believe that my answer is slightly different my position is slightly different from that of Sheikh, that we have not lost the moral voice. What we have lost is morality itself. Morality and some of the ideals and values of society. And if you ask me, I'll put the blame on all of us, because we have taken this out of our educational system. We have taken this out of our schools. We have stopped teaching moral and religious education. We have stopped.
RME is still in.
It's still there.
Yes,
okay.
my children are studying RME.
Okay, but we've watered it down tremendously to the extent that we have taken certain things out. Let me give you an example. Something like prayer, for instance. We have taken it out, by and large, out of a number of things that we do. Even this program was started without a prayer. I am a religious person. I believe that if we want to build the Ghana we want, if we want to build a compact that will lead to political and economic transformation, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. I believe that value is still necessary if we are going to make an impact. Unless the Lord watches over what we are doing, it may not succeed. If we have that at the back of our minds, apart from doing all the other things that we have to do, that religious value is also extremely important. And that is leading to some of these things that we are seeing. It's not that the religious leaders are no longer speaking. It's not that the religious leaders do not have integrity, even though we have a lot of charlatans around. The reality of the situation is that we have taken some of these things out of our system, and it's coming back to haunt us.
So, I mean, you mentioned about the values that are being eroded. Can you mention some of those important values that you think are, affecting the fabric of our society? And as you mentioned, I think Sheikh mentioned about religiosity and practices. So you mentioned prayer, for example. How do we ensure that secular societies are able to do their secular things without undue religious influences, which sometimes also leads to exclusion?
I think Sheikh has already mentioned the fact that Ghana is a very religious society. It is not so much a secular society. We have religious pluralism, even though some things are modeled along secular lines. So I don't think that in Ghana you can say that religion is kind of an impediment in the way of a secular society. Because even our constitution recognizes the fact that we are religious persons. So for me, the values that come out of religion are extremely important for development. For example, hard work. For example, discipline. For example, integrity. For example, love of neighbor, love of one another. So there are so many values that emerge out of religion that we have to hold dear. But we have to first and foremost also believe in those religious precepts before we can believe in the values. Yeah.
Very well. I'm coming to you now in Kliwureche. I hope I got that correct. There's an opinion piece that was issued ahead of this event, and it read, and I quote, "Most of our societal challenges are related to our culture, values, norms, and related practices that sustain and promote gender inequality and injustice. women and girls continue to experience different forms of exclusion and are subjected to sometimes dehumanizing traditions such as witchcraft allegations, female genital mutilation, and forced marriages. These are very deep-seated practices that undermine the ability of women and girls to achieve their best and denies them sometimes of their educational, political, and health rights. As a traditional leader, in what ways can we transform some of these cultural norms if we're truly to build the inclusive Ghana we want?
The mic doesn't like you.
Thank you very much. I think my mic doesn't like me, so I'll just pass it on. Transformation is the way to go, but transformation, it's a very difficult task. I would often say that if we want to see a transformed world, or if we want cultural leaders to be transformative when it comes to our cultural beliefs and practices, it all hinges on girl-child education. They're going to say women empowerment, yes. An empowered woman is a free woman, I keep saying. And I think that one of the most important ways we can fight against issues of FGM, issues of witchcraft accusations, is when we empower the woman. We focus so much on hammering on the issues than the solution. And if you come to my region, for instance, the stats have it that girl to boy ratio in education has increased from the very basic and primary levels. But then when you move on to tertiary, then it starts from junior high school to senior high school, it starts dwindling. And then you have 20 girls start from primary and have just 2 or even 1 moving on to tertiary education. So that's one of the major areas that I think that if you're able to work on, we can bring some transformation. But let me commend my mentor, Nana Ajwa Awendo Obapa. She has done a lot with traditional authority through the Obapa Development Foundation. And her focus has been to see how best she can empower traditional authority, especially queen mothers, to come to terms with what these issues are. So through agencies like the UNFPA, the Ministry of Gender, she has empowered over 300 queen mothers and chiefs across Ghana who go back into their societies to advocate for issues of the girl child. And let me also come back to talk about the fact that we need something I want to term cultural modernity. Cultural modernity. And if you look at me, you want to find out, okay, is she a northern queen or she's a southern queen? Cultural modernity to mean that as the trends changes, you take conscious, intentional steps to make sure that the development of your people is paramount or is at heart. Vis-a-vis treading cautiously with culture. When you come to where I come from, Bole, the Bole traditional area, I doff my hat for Yiram Boleura, South Kotogo Feso. Boleura has consciously, intentionally, enskined queen mothers who are but intellectuals. Nurses, teachers, accountants, bankers. So if a nurse, if the queen mother is a nurse, issues of childbirth won't come to her and she wants to seek so much of traditional attendant, she will rush you to the hospital. The queen mothers who are teachers are ensuring that every girl in their community goes to school. The queen mothers ensures that if any man in the community impregnates a child or issues of teenage pregnancies come up, the man is brought to book. So I think it's a conscious effort that we all have to do. And across Ghana, I know a lot of chiefs and queen mothers are doing a lot, but we have to be intentional about it. And then I also say that, right. Let me bring it back to the compact argument, to say that a traditional authority can work hand in hand with government agencies. So that if people are found corporate, we don't roll the cases under the carpet and say, oh, let's do this if let's do this traditionally. Hand them over to the police. Hand them over to the authorities to deal with them if they come at the wrong side of the law. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's very creative. Our time is up, but let me give a minute each to at least the student and my colleague from Oxfam to wrap up with key values that you think we require to move this compact from. Jessica, I'll start with you as a student. What values do you think young people need in moving forward, briefly?
Okay, thank you so much. Please, can you hear me?
Sorry for the pressure. We ran out of time.
Thank you so much for the question. I think one of the things that we shouldn't encourage is certainly corruption. And when I talk about corruption, I always say what makes people corrupt. It's either poverty or the fear of poverty. Those who are poor are corrupt, and those who are rich are also corrupt because they are afraid that probably when they lose certain positions that they are occupying now, they might not be able to acquire so much. So they would want to acquire it now so that when they are not in office, they can benefit. And so now the question is, what makes corruption itself a problem? I see it of more cultural, because I want to use this scenario. For instance, if an author has a book that wants to introduce to a school, brings the book to the headmaster, okay, the book is 5 cedis. The headmaster takes the book, introduces the book to the teacher. The book is 10 cedis. The teacher also takes the book, introduces the book to the students. It's 15 cedis. The student goes home, tells the mommy, we are buying a book at school. It's 20 cedis. Mommy also goes to daddy. Our Quranic book now is 25 cedis. So, I mean, when it comes to corruption and all that, it's a cultural problem. We all fall short. But we always make it look like whenever we are talking about corruption and integrity, it's only about politicians who are corrupt. But that's not to say they are not corrupt. However, everyone is capable of being corrupt. So going forward, we should put up a cautious effort. We should change our mindset in order to help the compact work and make Ghana a better place to be. Thank you.
The softwares, mindset for transformation. Yes, please, your concluding remarks.
Yes, so if we say we've lost it, Shamima, it means that we had it at a point. So at what point did we lose it? Can we go back? Can we reflect on it? And we must nurture it. We can't just assume that, well, we have values, this is Ghanaian values, and so as you move along, it goes with you. We have to guide it. The family has a role to play, the school system, teachers, and the government. And so as individuals, we all have a responsibility to make sure that we stand by it. And when people also stand up for these values, what are our responses towards that? And so if you work hard, you work late, people are asking you if you work in the government, Abanye Juma, Oma Media, now Papa Dia. And so even us, how we react towards those values when people show it, it's important for us to nurture it as we go along and do not just assume that, oh, this is, we have these values, this is what we need. We guide it through all the processes in our life, starting with the family, which is the basics that we need. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, and thank you to all of you for your attention. Sheikh Shaibu, spokesperson of the Chief Imam, Reverend Fayose, General Secretary, Christian Council, Jessica Chumesi Nooks, Vera Ado, and Queen Borisa. We appreciate your time and sharing your thoughts with us. So that's it from us. Thank you for your attention. Handing over to Bernard. Yeah.
Thank you, Shamima. Please put your hands together one more time for the panel. Sheikh. Shamima. How do we greet Queen Mother? I should lie on the floor. Okay. Thank you. That was wonderful. Did you enjoy that? Thank you very much indeed. Wow. We've learned so much today. Thank you very much. I want to assure you that we'll maintain integrity with time. We will still close at 12:30. My next panel, they don't have a lot of things to say. Somebody's looking at me in horror. So we will take a short commercial break. Don't forget, we're live on Adom TV. We're live on City FM. We're live on Adom TV Online. We're live on all the social media platforms of ACET. It's just a 2-minute break, so please don't go anywhere. Just to recalibrate and start. When we come back, the panel that I'll be moderating, not sure what name to call it. I'll probably call it the Compact Partners Panel. Compact Partners Panel, because this is not an ACET thing. I keep hearing, thank you, ACET, thank you, ACET. we like the thank you. It's not an asset thing. It defeats the whole purpose if we make it an asset thing. So we reject the asset tag. All right? We reject it. It's a Ghana thing. The hashtag is the Ghana we want. And it's the Ghana Compact. It's not asset compact. So please delete asset from your mind now. Please, this is very important. And then we would also introduce, you have a nice raft of people here. We would introduce some of them, really important minds who have contributed to the process, who have committed to getting us to the end. So we're going to take a 2-minute commercial break. 2-minute commercial break. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Africa has made incredible gains, but it takes more than growth to sustain progress and ensure long-term development. It takes transformation.
For Africa, transformation means strong growth that enables us to diversify our economies, compete globally with a broad export base, improve productivity and generate jobs for our growing population, and use technological advancements to enhance our effectiveness. Most importantly, it must secure the well-being of every single African. The African Center for Economic Transformation is an African-led, African-driven economic policy institute based in Ghana with an African mandate and a global reach.
ACET focuses on the issues most critical to addressing Africa's transformation. Issues like jobs, education, and skills for young people, private sector development, regional integration beyond trade, innovation, climate, economic management, gender equality, and more.
ACET's core products and platforms define transformation on African terms. They analyze and inform, but they also bring our partners and stakeholders together to share ideas, learn from each other, and accelerate progress.
We're a growing team of committed and experienced economic policy experts, researchers, and advocates working across Africa and around the world.
We are ready to contribute to building the Africa we want.
Welcome back to the launch of the Ghana Compact. We are live at the Accra International Conference Center. My name is Bernard Avlet. Thank you for staying with us on Adom TV. Thank you for staying with us on CTFM. Thank you for staying with us on Facebook and YouTube. We are just moving into the next panel discussion. If you just joined us, you've missed some very important conversations. Dr. Amoako set us off with the opening remarks. We've heard from Radia Chentiwuni, who's giving us some thought-provoking ideas about how young people see the future. We've also heard from Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers, who joined us by video link. Shamima Muslim just moderated a fascinating panel comprising very erudite minds. We've learned a few things from that panel. 5 things struck me from that panel. Righteousness is not the same as religiosity, Sheikh. You can patent that. It hit me like a bomb. You also spoke about the moral mandate. He spoke about morality. We'll discuss that later. And then there was also the lacuna between political governance and cultural governance. How many of you love the Queen? Where is she? I mean, oh my God. I mean, I want to be your subject. Where is your I want to come and start a radio station. My Lord, just clarity is unbelievable. And of course, Nanajua Window, we recognize your role there. Then, of course, I think that the thing that struck me most was the Oyenipa Pan. It's very powerful. And I thought that was Archbishop Sapon. Yeah, thank you. So let's put hands together for the panel. Oyenipa, the whole panel, correct panel. I have a tough job. My panel is a bit distorted. Somebody was saying, Bernard, your panel is imbalanced. So we are striving for balance within both panels. All right. So sometimes balance is when you have one panel, 4 women, 2 men, another 5-1. But overall, it's 5-4. So that's the overall balance. So you can have balance within and balance across. So please forgive us. All right? Because we are not trying to say when it comes to hard issue is men, soft issue. No, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's just difficult to get people. So forgive us. All right. Having said that, my panel, in no particular order, sat next to me, Dr. Priscilla Chumesi Bafo, Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana, a very well-known economist. Put your hands together for her. Next, Leslie Dwight Mensah, one of the big minds at IFS. Put your hands together for Leslie. I forget your title, so that's why I didn't. You're a policy analyst, right? He used to be a journalist, but I realized that it doesn't pay well, so he went to the policy analysis. He used to write for the BNFT. Very thought-provoking. He left. I'm the only one left. Kuku Sechado has left. They've all left. So some men, if you increase my salary, I'll stay. We also have sat next to him, Dr. Manuela Kwete of IDEC. Put your hands together for him. I call Doc an eternal optimist on Ghana. We'll have an election cycle. They will have all the things, and he'll call again, Bernard, we have to engage again, civil society. He never gives up. I don't know how he gets his energy. So, Doc, keep going. Thank you for what you do. And then we have the new energetic brand of CSO, Franklin Kujo of Imani. Franklin Kujo. So we have all the various brands of civil society. And then, very important for us as well, Dr. Kojo. You know, Samima, I said something. You said Kojo Mensah. Kojo Mensah Abrompa. So I don't know whether you were deliberately mentioning it or you were just saying it by the anointing. But the NDPC DG is called Dr. Kojo Mensah. So you mentioned it. You almost got it. Flesh and blood did not reveal it to you. He's the DG of NDPC. So what is this panel going to do? A couple of things. Civil society is very critical to all of this. So we want to find out to what extent they see this as something that is collective. Do they buy into this? Is it going to work as well? And then, of course, what are the priorities they see, the compact outline, and how can we modify it? But I want to start with Dr. Kojo Mensah Brompa, because we have the Constitution. In that, we have the Directive Principles of State Policy. We have the National Development Planning Commission with all your big development plans. So do we even need a compact? How I open with you. Thank you. The mic is on. Just speak, it will come.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think that I'm the biggest beneficiary of this process, in the sense that planning is a logic, and the logic begins with the people. So anything which comes along to enhance participation of the people and getting the people at the heart of it makes it more beneficiary, more logical, and also it also brings about the irrelevance of the plan. If you look at what we have done and what we are doing, it is a bit different. A bit different in the sense that the past process reviews the planning as more of a technical activity. More emphasis on what we do in terms of all the calculations, the jargons, and then we do more of less application. After going through all this process, we're going around to bring the people into it. You know, we've met the chiefs, we've met the district, we've met the CSOs, and basically some 1-hour conversation, and we say that, yeah, we have them, this is the plan. I don't think that helps. So this brings about, and given what I've heard and what we have gone through this process right from the beginning, it is reversing this logical, technical process, beginning from the people, bringing down the goals and all these things through. If you look at all our plans, you look at all the vision and the goals, right from the, way back from 1920 with the Gorgeous Spec, it's never different. It's improving the lives of the people, building a fair and equitable society, coming out with a participatory governance, strengthening our accountability process, improving our infrastructure, and it runs through all of them. Okay. So there could be one tilt here or there, but that is basically, that is it. But I think that if we begin this process on a stronger participatory basis, then it enhances also the public financial management system. Because there are two things here. If we begin it from a participatory process, then you can also demand accountability. Okay. Let me put this question along. I wonder how many of you have visited the website of the National Development Planning Commission. But all these documents are there from all the plans that we have, including the most recent long-term perspective, the 40-year plan, the summary of the Ghana at 100, the medium-term framework, the first phase, the second phase, all of them are there. And at the end of it, there is also annual progress report, which is the accountability for the use of our resources. And I wonder how many people and how many Ghanaians are privy to this document. But it's there on the website. At the end of each year, we have a team of people who go around the district and the regions and have discussion with people and come back and give a report. The report is also deposited in Parliament. And there's a whole time deliberation on it. They call National Development Planning Commission to have an interaction with them. But I'm asking myself, at the end of it, where does it end? Where do we have the people also coming in? So I see this compact. It's not just the usual process, but this is bringing up targets with defined results, which at the end of the year, this annual progress report will have something definite decided by citizens to report on. And not just deposit it in Parliament, but also have an interface with the citizens since it started with them.
So,
and that's
so
how
you
I
see this as complementary?
Very, very complementary.
Just a quick question, because I know you have to cut a flight. Sometimes we've seen governments come and say they disagree with this plan that this previous government put in place. How do we position the compact to deal with that across changes in government? That's been one of the challenges.
You see, if you look at our constitutional process, it brought in one element which you haven't paid a lot of attention to, and that is the coordinated program of economic and social policies. The essence of this document is to serve as a bridge from one government to another. Okay. But that bridge can only count on a perspective long-term vision. This is our vision as a country. I bring my coordinated program as a response to how I'm going to interpret this vision. There must be a vision. There must be something which is said for it to be interpreted. It's demanded constitutionally. 36.5, it is there. When you present it, it is also a point where you can harmonize your own political vision and experience and what we refer to as manifesto. That is why you harmonize this with a vision and a long-term process. And then it goes on with a medium-term development plan, and then it ends all the way to implementation and monitoring. The challenge here is that once accountability is not demanded, I can deviate even from my own coordinated program, which I've sent to Parliament and agreed upon. But if there's accountability at the end of it, from Parliament, from citizens, deviating from what you have set and what you have established with the social contract with the people might be difficult. So that, for me, I think is the missing link, where we can demand accountability. Said that if there's a deviation from the plan, from what you said you're going to do, from what citizens agreed with you to accomplish, then we will be on track.
Thank you. Please put your hands together for him. If you leave us, I'll not be offended because I know you have a flight to catch. Dr. Akwete, you've seen a lot of things in your life. So let's be honest with us. This compact thing we are doing and all the nice things we're saying, will it work, basically? If it won't, what should we do to make it work? Simple. There's a mic next to you.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you all. I think there are conditions for it to work. It's a well thought through, compact idea. The 6 issues areas they define. And what is challenging us probably is also to understand what a compact is. Okay. A compact is not the agreement you sign because it's in a certain legal language, and you are told if you don't do this, this would happen or whatever. The compact, from my perspective, has a normative values and commitment elements in that. It's voluntary, you are not forced. But if you come to a common reason that at the end of our 30th year, okay, as a fourth republic, a multi-party constitutional democracy, the one that has lasted long, and we're about to transition to the second generational span. The youth we are talking to are going to take over, whether we like it or not. I mean, I see Kwesi Prempeh here. If you look at him, that is 30 years now, or he was 30 years ago, and he should be 60 now, and he's out of leadership. And I think we ought to wake up to the fact that what democracy does is it gives you the opportunity to prepare your human resource too, that will take over at a certain point in time and build on what the nation has defined as its vision and what it wants to achieve. And so from that perspective, I think the 6 areas the compact addresses has been put forward by a critical analysis of our failures and the confusion we see, the clarity of what should be prioritized, which we're all confused about. And I take it from the perspective of development planning, and I like the NDPC taking the lead. My beef is simple. In the last 30 years, a stable multi-party democracy, we've not been able to handle long-term development plans. And the compact is 25 years. The agenda it sets, that is equivalent to a long-term development plan. So I've been very worried and said, but why couldn't we implement the first long-term development plan, the 7-year plan? Why did it collapse? And why couldn't we also pursue the Ghana Vision 2020? Because in between with the military, we have been so consistent in working on medium-term plans by the IMF, the World Bank, the UNDP, and so on, than our own homegrown long-term plan. Whether you are looking at it in terms of structural adjustment, or you are looking at Millennium Development Goals, and now SDGs, we're so enthusiastic about it. But our own homegrown, that prioritizes and understands in depth what our challenges are that we should address. We do not. We haven't succeeded. So just before 2017 or 2016 elections, we also heard that the 40-year development plan Doc referred to. And, well, we had IMF, we had World Bank, and that was put somewhere else. So our challenge has not been our inability or incapability of drawing a plan that will be implemented on a sustained basis, that our people will rally around and make us deliver and transform our economy, education, society, create youth. The problem, to me, has been political. And he's gone because I really wanted to engage him. But I think fundamentally then, these are the things he's articulated reflect what the youth feels today. Youth unemployment, the youth bulge, the threat. In fact, because the 30 years has passed, we are now confronted with exclusion as a core part of governance in our system. And people are making all sorts of proposals why we couldn't create an inclusive system. Could we develop a machinery that could deliver what is agreed, implement, make sure that public service delivery, health, good drinking water, local economic development. Can we have a system that says the 5% that the Constitution says of gross national income that should go to districts are happening? So there's a sense of failure. And I think that sense of failure could be changed by us. So what I see going forward for me is that we probably should make an institution like NDPC is important, but we should make it work in handling long-term development plans. And it should be part of a compact not in the sense that there's a law we should sign, but our understanding of its value in neutralizing partisanship over the 6 areas identified, but having the technical competency and probably protected by the Constitution. It could lead a process that says development that is agreed upon will see execution.
All right.
That is where I come
Thank you very
from.
much, Dr. Akwete. This is still the Compact, Ghana Compact launch, hashtag the Ghana we want, hashtag Ghana Compact. It's 5 minutes to midday, so at midday we'll be going off television and radio. And so we want to just tell our viewers that they can follow us online. So we're still streaming. We're live on the social media handles at Dome FM Online. We are also at ACET for Africa. ACET for Africa, that's the handle. ACETFOR Africa. And also streaming at Ghana Compact. So if you're following us on radio or television and you do not want to miss the rest of the conversation in 5 minutes, please follow the stream at ACET for Africa, ACETFOR Africa, or at Ghana Compact or Adom Online, I believe it is. And then you will be indulged with the comments. So we're still live. Thank you, Dr. Akwete. So the preamble is for the three of you. Same preamble. I'll start with Dr. Chumesi. So we have four thematic areas and then 3 constraints. 6. Okay, so gender equality, youth education and skills, private sector development, health, and climate change. And then we have what we call the 3 binding constraints, which are the Constitution, no longer fit for purpose, a weak fiscal framework, that's your area, that has failed to keep governments from running huge budget deficits and borrowing excessively to plug financing gaps. This is so eloquently written at the time that we are in. And of course, frequent changes in policy direction. What are your reflections on our approach and our areas of emphasis? Are we on the money? Do we need to tweak anything as an economist, Doc?
Thank you very much.
They say it's on, so it's not on, guys. No, it's not. Please give me that one. Yeah, the blue one. Yes.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the question. I would also like to thank the organizers and stakeholders of the Ghana Compact for the opportunity to share my thoughts. And indeed, when I read the document, I was excited. Why was I excited? Because I think that of this country, what do we want as a country in terms of our economic development? And particularly, it talks about commitment around policies that will improve the fiscal health of the country, and then a long-term vision of economic transformation and strong systems. And for me, I think the strong systems is what we need. We know as a country, when President Obama came, it should not be about strong men, but about strong institutions and systems. Systems in place. When the Prof was talking about national development plans, we have walked this journey over time, historically, when you trace development plans. But when you look at it, you see that all of them are set aside whenever there is a change in government. So what are the systems that are in place to ensure that leaders do not have the option to set these policies aside? I think looking at the trajectory, our longest development plan attempt was the Ghana Vision 2020, and that lasted for 5 years. So it tells a lot about the need for us to look at our economic development in a more nuanced way to know where we want to get to. Issues of macroeconomic instability that consistently leads us to the path of every time seeking an IMF bailout, for example. When you look at the data, you see that indeed it boils down to fiscal indiscipline. And the fiscal indiscipline, you can also track it to the cyclical nature of it. When it comes to revenue mobilization, for example, we know that as a country we have struggled. So the question I ask is, yes, because of the informal nature of our economy, generating direct tax revenue is a challenge. Generating indirect taxes also is an avenue that is used, but also poses some challenges in terms of the impact it has on inequality. But then the bigger question I ask is, what about our non-tax revenue? what are we realizing from our natural resources, for instance? Because we cannot generate the tax revenue, but we are a resource-rich nation. A compact can come in to say that this is what we want as a country from our natural resources. These contracts that are...
Now you are with the Institute of Fiscal Studies, so I will jump for now. I want to go somewhere else, I'll come back there. Franklin, what are your thoughts on the compact? Imani is very out there, using that Ghanaian expression. We hear you a lot. You do a lot of advocacy type thing. Where do you think this compact sits in this attempt to create a better society?
Well, thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. Thanks, Dr. Amoako and the team. I think, for me, this is a perfect marriage between policy activism. I think for me, this is a perfect marriage between policy activism and technocratic practice or technocratic experience. Why do I say so? We've been shouting at government, some of us at least. I see another champion of activism sitting in there, and then I'm put together. And I see a question which, and I think President Mohammed's engagement with CSOs brought out one question. What do we want as a country? The Ghana we want. And almost everything that is being said here were said in terms of the answers that were provided by a cross-array of civil society activists. And so I already see a win already, that if the president, well, maybe because he's in opposition, that I think there's some commitment to that Ghana we want. And I think this compact actually helps us get closer.
But I want you to know that the Ghana we want is we took it first. It's not John Mahama that took it first. So it's for us first.
Yes, no, I agree with you.
I'm just joking, Franklin. Don't mind me. I mean, isn't it nice to have the same thinking around a hashtag? Please ignore my tomfoolery. Franklin, thank you for your opening remarks. Let me come to Leslie. Again, what are your general thoughts on the compact? IFS is also, in fact, funny thing, when Dr. Chumesi Bafo was talking about needing more from our mineral resources, I read your paper 2018, which actually spelled out how we should go about our extractives, where you compared Ghana to Nigeria, Ghana to Botswana. You did a very good job on how to compare to all known comparator indicators, we earn the least from our mineral and our oil resources. So I see some synergies there. So you obviously are at the forefront of advocacy. How do you see this vehicle further amplifying what you do, and how can we streamline it to get better results?
Well, thank you, Bernard. Well, you know, there could not have been a more profound illustration of the importance of this compact, and the importance in particular of fiscal transformation for Ghana's future transformation than the present crisis we're in. There could not have been a more profound illustration than the present crisis, because we're essentially in a fiscal crisis. And like all fiscal crises, this has eventually become a full-blown economic crisis. You know? So the importance of sound public financial management for a sound economy and for good economic fortunes is being clearly demonstrated. Therefore, when we were invited, you know, to hear the vision and elements of this compact, and it was said to us that fiscal policy has been identified as a binding constraint in our efforts to transform, and therefore as an area in need of fundamental change if we want to see a better Ghana over the next 25 years. We thought that these guys have hit the nail on the head, you know, and therefore we were more than willing to be a part of the initiative. And perhaps to give you a flavor, because you touched on the issue of, you know, revenue mobilization and natural resource, to give you a flavor of the thinking we're doing, you know, obviously we have had a culture of, you know, borrowing more than, you know, is prudent, you know, and if you do that over time, your debt service obligations pile up, eventually you run into problems. And in terms of what needs to be done in the technical work we have done, IFS and ACET, we've tackled revenue issues, you know, a fundamental one of which is, you know, natural resource revenue mobilization. In the work that we did, led by Dr. Said Boachi, my colleague, we discovered that relative to other developing countries, which on average capture about 50% of the value added from their natural resources into the national treasury, in Ghana we capture just around 20%. So clearly it's an area for massive change if we are to raise our revenue generation from about 15% now to the average for our peers of more than 22%. Okay. On the expenditure side also, we have thought about how to address the rigidities in our budget. We have thought about how to deal with the expenditure inefficiencies, that make things cost more than they should do, and therefore push us to borrow more than we need to borrow to accomplish the things we need to do.
Fantastic. Just have 5 minutes to go, so I'll just take a final couple of comments from everybody. Dr. Akwete, any thoughts around decentralization, local governance? I know it's an area you've been strongly working on in the past few years.
Yes, broadly it's about institutional reform. And I think if we agree on the 6 areas identified, which I think responds to our needs generally, it's not just the failure of past long-term plans, but the lack of a machinery that would bring us together in delivering it. I think the politics gets too much in the 5 minutes or less. In a recent survey, by the post-election survey by CDD, I think we heard a lot about how people want to elect their MMDCs. But at the heart of it, what I consider to be a very significant finding was people saying the local government system doesn't work. They all dismissed it. And that was a higher percentage, 78% of the respondents. So that tells you the issue, because you need implementation, and we are very bad with implementation. The way the politicians or the parties, the partisanship and the polarization has undermined the public service, the civil service. So we think that we ought to look at, that is how NDPC comes in. How do we make policies after election a national agenda that is to be implemented by state institutions and not easily pushed aside by politicians? It's a very important thing. And the second point that I would end on is that if we are going to do that, we can also look away from the political parties, their behavior. So when people tell you, we don't want to elect MMDCs on the basis of parties, and this is a democracy, and that profoundly raises the issue that former parties and the institutions.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Akwete. Dr. Priscilla, your closing thoughts on the way forward?
Thank you once again. I believe that in my closing remarks is that the compact is critical. And as a country, we know that our over-reliance on imports is a problem. The current sharp challenges, depreciation of the currency tells us. And indeed, it is evident in the budget that about 45% of the items in the import baskets can be competitively produced locally. And so going forward, what is our strategy towards import substitution, industrialization? We always hear it, government touts this. What are the actions and what are we getting out of it? Young people are demanding jobs. A lot of young people are losing hope in this country because there are no opportunities. The way to create those opportunities is for the productive sector to work and for people to find jobs. And I believe that going forward, even within the current global economic crisis, that Ghana is struggling to find its feet amidst the multiple shocks, is an indicator that we need to look within and find solutions within. At the end of the day, the Ghana we all live in is the country we have. And leaders must think and take concise actions to address the problems that we know.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Put your hands together for her. Franklin Kujo, your closing thoughts before I come to Leslie.
So the compact is here, and I think we should all do everything we can to make sure it works. That's all I've got to say.
Wow. I like that.
Well, yeah, Bernard, I mean, in thinking about what this initiative needs to succeed, my simple message is that we all need to remain engaged. You know, we need to maintain the commitment. It is when we give up, you know, that this will fail. Thank you.
Fantastic. Put your hands together for the panel. We've had a panel discussion involving Dr. Kujo-Mensah Abrompa, who's the Executive Director of NDPC. He had to leave earlier on. We also had Franklin Kujo of Imani, Dr. Malakwete of IDEG, Dr. Leslie. You are doctor? Okay, Professor Leslie Dwight Mensah of IFS, and Dr. Priscilla Chumesiba for Senior Lecturer, University of Ghana, Department of Economics. Put your hands together for them. Oh, you were joking. I didn't know. So thank you very much. Please take your seats. I need the pulpit back. After the religious thing, I need a pulpit. Please help me with the pulpit. So we're coming to a quick close, and just pardon us. We'll wrap up in a second. Thank you all for your. Are we on commercial break? So you even tell me, you just go for break like that. I'll take it from your salary. Put your hands together for the sound guys. They've struggled the whole day, but they nailed it. At least we streamed from 10:05 to 12:15, and it didn't break. So it's not a bad thing at all. So many people to acknowledge. Before I bring up Mavis, I just feel it's important to acknowledge some of the people we have here in no particular order. And KY, sorry, if I make any mistake, you correct that. So in terms of the architecture of all of this, we have something we call the Compact Advisory Group, which is a big group of people. Some of the members of that group are here. I want to acknowledge Ambassador DK Osei. Yes, sir, put your hands together for him. We also have, he's a member of the group, but also the chairman of the Council of Elders of the New Patriotic Party, Honorable Hakman Uswa Jiman. Thank you, sir. He came bright and early, sat quietly through. It's really good to see you, sir. We also have from the Council of State, Honorable Sam Okujeto, who I think has a dual role. He's also on our advisory group as well. Put your hands together for Honorable Sam Okujeto. I'm not sure if I've seen him, but I believe he's the Honorable Kofi Ansong is also here. Put your hands together for him. And from the advisory group as well, we have Professor Techiwa Menu. Thank you very much. Indeed, now that we're in the professorial enclave, let's also acknowledge Professor H. Kwesi Prempe and Professor Ebo Texan. Where is he? Yeah. He taught me industrial economics and I passed. You know, what do you call a group of professors? Is it a college of professors or an enclave? Or a conspiracy of professors? I need to find that. A conclave of professors. You know, they are the collective nouns. One of my favorite things I learned in English, you know, a conclave. So we also have from the Compact Leadership Group, which is, I think, one tier below, we have Golda Addo. Where's Golda? She was somewhere. Golda is in that group. Senyo Kosi Hosi is in that group as well. Did he run away? Senyo is in that group as well. And of course, we have Sheikh Arimeyao representing the Chief Imam. Are you a philosopher? I like your take on. I should interview you again. It's been a long time. Did you enjoy your submissions? Yeah. Wonderful. Put your hands together for Sheikh. Reverend Dr. Cyril Fayose, General Secretary, Christian Council, thank you as well. Now, we also want to acknowledge what we call our think tank partners. Please put it in my ear. So, as we said, we are Dr. Said Boachi of IFS, Dr. Said, Dr. Ebo Texan, Department of Economics, University of Ghana, Dr. Malakwete of IDEG, Franklin Kujo as well, Dr. Mensah, and we also want to acknowledge our traditional leaders, Nanajwa Awindo. Nanajwa Awindo. Do you still do greetings from Ghana, or it has changed? Greetings from Accra. We used to look forward to hearing from our relatives in Abuja. It was such a wonderful TV show. Do you still do it? Okay, nice one. We have Manyoro Piope. Am I mispronouncing your name? Yes, put your hands together for that. Dr. Pwakwea Atudiwi Atudipari Manchi the third. Where is he? Thank you, sir. So that's the name. Okay. Overlord of the Manyoro in the Upper East region. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. A few more people to acknowledge, in no particular order. Dr. Abu Sakara Foster. Abu Sakara Foster. Once upon a flag bearer. The CPP. Wonderful man. Really wonderful man. I also saw JOY. Also, are you still a flag bearer? Okay, JOY. Oh, why are you not clapping? Kojo Bonsu. Honorable Kojo Bonsu, former mayor of Kumasi, and a flag bearer hopeful of the NDC. Wonderful man indeed. Dr. Samia Nkrumah is also here. I knew I would miss some names, so whatever sins I commit, when Mavis comes, she will tidy it up. I saw Honorable Monakwote, former deputy minister. I think she left. I saw the general secretary of CPP. What's her name? No, general secretary of CPP. Nana Yajantwa. And then the deputy flag bearer of PPP, Bridget. So you had, what were you? The running mate. Oh, yes. Charlie, sorry. Bridget, forgive me. I'm officially mourning, so just forgive me. Now, anything I commit, I'm mourning. So, yes. So if I missed out, this is not even a vote. If I missed out on your name, Mavis will come and correct that. Now, who's Mavis? So before we go to Mavis, there's a big team of people from ACET who have championed this. And I think Mavis is the chief driver of that group. Mavis also, Jemfi, put your hands together for her. She will come and thank us, give us the way forward, and then we'll do the final poem if Chief Moment is around. So put your hands together for Mavis. I need a mic. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to begin by saying a very big thank you to every single person in the room today. You've given up 2 hours plus of your time, which demonstrates your commitment to working together to build the Ghana we want. I'd also like to say thank you to all of our friends and colleagues online and on the various radio and TV channels. I'd like to take this opportunity, as Ben said, to recognize that this is not something that has been built just by ACET. It was the brainchild of Dr. K.Y. Amoako, and I'm one of the very few people who are honored to work with Dr. K.Y. on a day-to-day basis. So can we give him a big round of applause, please? As K.Y. said, he was a child of independence and a child of Africa, but today he's a child of Ghana. And he's stepping up to launch the compact because it is fundamental to our future. And he has put together a group of compact partners. And anybody who's worked in this space knows it's not easy to pull together the group that we have pulled together on the compact. And most of them are laughing at me right now because they know that it's been a fun and at times challenging journey. But every single time we pulled it together, every time we hit a brick wall, KY would pick up the phone and they would come together to engage. And that just gives you a sense of the journey that we've started. So our partners are CDD, IDEC, IFS, ISA, Imani, Afrobarometer, Right to Play, NetRight, ISODEC, WACSI, the Youth Bridge Foundation, and the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations. Alongside these, we've had a group of institutions who have walked the journey with us. And these organizations are the Council of State, the House of Chiefs, Christian Council, our Muslim Fraternity, Peace Council, the NDPC, the TUC, the AGI, members of the Compact Leadership and Advisory Group who are eminent representatives of Ghana, and our friends in the Compact Advisory Group. On behalf of every single one of us in these different groups, I would like to say a very big thank you. We are grateful for the tremendous support you have shown us in the room today as we embark on this journey. I was heartened by today's discussion, and I took away 3 key points. The compact is critical and it's important. I believe somebody said, we need the continuity for the Ghana we want. My second takeaway was that this is not a journey any single group can do. It must be done by every single group in society, the young, the old, different religious groups, different political parties, different classes in society, different ethnicities. We must all come together to build this compact. Because the compact is not just a piece of paper. It's a social contract between Ghanaians, taking a journey towards the Ghana that we want. And the third point I took away today was, let's stop focusing on the problems and start working together on the solutions to build a Ghana we want. So today, with this launch, we have started what is in effect a 27-year journey. And it seems like a very long time ahead. It's not. We will blink, and the end of 2023 will be here. We all know that. But that journey towards the Ghana we want starts today. We've launched the paper. A lot of work has been done in the past. There's a number of people in this room that have been involved in it. But the work for building that compact for all Ghanaians start today. In the next 6 months, citizens across the country will be seeing a lot of information on the compact. We will be starting a national broad consultation. We will be doing citizen engagements across the different regions in the country. We will be holding additional technical consultations. And this is the opportunity for every Ghanaian who is listening to this conversation today to voice their opinion on the Ghana that they want. And these conversations will not just be in rooms like this. They will be online. They will be in radio stations. They'll be on TV programs. They will be on Twitter. They will be on YouTube. And so if you are not part of the conversation, it means you're choosing not to be part of the conversation. And we hope every single one of you will choose to be part of the conversation. These different conversations will culminate in what we are calling the National Convention. The National Convention will happen in June 2023. And at that National Convention, we will have the compact document, and that will represent the agreement of the Ghana we want to see by 2050. So by the time the new president starts, in January 2025, the journey we'll be walking towards the Ghana we want to see by 2050. That National Convention will be a conversation between leaders of Ghana and representatives of citizens of Ghana to agree the details in that compact. And once we have the details in the compact, we go back on another roadshow. And that roadshow will be sharing with citizens of Ghana the agreement that has been made at the National Convention and encouraging them to have a conversation around issues in the run-up to 2024 rather than the non-issue conversation that we have seen in the past. And the dream is that we will see a slightly different conversation than we have seen in the past in run-up to elections. And in 2025, when the new president does his, unfortunately I have to say his at this stage, but hopefully it might be a her. Sorry, my sister. I should have said his or her journey as the new leader of Ghana. our president will make reference to the Ghana Compact and the 25-year journey ahead. After that launch, every 5 years, we will regroup to review progress towards the targets in the compact and make amendments and improvements to ensure that we are starting the journey on the right way. So before I end, I just want to share a proverb which I think is really apt for today. It's a Swahili proverb, and it says, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We've tried to go quickly alone for too long, and it hasn't worked. So let's come together and go far. The Ghana we want needs an intergenerational process across politics, across class, across ethnicity, across religions, across age. So I implore every single one of you in this room and everyone who is listening to join this journey we have started to create the Ghana we want. And if you were not here, if your friends were not here, share the message with them that we have started the journey. Let's all join together to create Ghana for our children, our children's children, and future generations, so that when they look back in 2050, they can say, our great leaders took that first journey, and we all walked behind them. And that's why we are here we are today, and we choose to be in Ghana because we can afford to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mavis. So to wrap up, we would be inviting Chief Mumin again to close us off with one of his masterpieces. After that, just a second, after that, we would do the more youthful version of the General Assassini. So some young musicians have come together to do what we call the funkified version. So you can dance. It's not the... Ifrimamu is the composer, but we've tweaked it a bit. We want to acknowledge also Mrs. Philomena Amoako, KY's wife. Thank you very much indeed for all your support. And of course, the daughter, Nana Amoako as well. Thank you very much. Put your hands together for them as well. We wouldn't have had access to him had you not permitted and supported him. So thank you, Team KY, for making it possible. Chief Mumin will give us his final poem.
Thank you. We shall live here today with the conviction that it is possible. It is that we too can be among the high and mighty of this world, that our cities can be connected by bullet trains and ooze with magnificent buildings like pyramids touching the heavens within a well-planned ambience of greenery, serenity, and timeliness. It is that we can be worth more than our gold and cocoa and oil buried in our earth, and that the single most important resource which we can harness to drive our progress is our passion, our competence, our energies, and that the lawyers, doctors, engineers, architects, political leaders that we need to drive our progress and develop our own homegrown solutions can come from within us. It is that we can create strong and efficient institutions in Ghana, that the ordinary Ghanaian doesn't have to go through hell or pay a hell lot more to get a passport, a driver's license, a business registration, a Ghana card, or any of such public service, that when you press the switch, the light will come on. When you turn the tap, the water will flow. When you hit your rubbish, the collectors will come. When you fall ill, the ambulance will appear. That the only qualification you need to get a job, a contract, or a scholarship is not who you know, but it is. It's not who you know, but what you know, who you are. It is possible. It is possible that we can fulfill the aspirations of our founding fathers and mothers, and that we can make this country truly great and strong. We can build the Ghana we want. It is. Possible. It is. Possible. It is. Possible. But that's, thank you.
And before the song, just a quick note for the media. If media want interviews, Professor MP, Professor Teshua Menu have kindly agreed to do the interviews with this backdrop. So media people, these are the people you get for the extra interviews. Can we rise the song from Richie and Co, Yanara Assassini? After that, we have packed lunch for you. You can pick that on your way out. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Ojana na na num shegu na de tu ho my Edumene wososo say a pay piatwaso Nindian twaso kutu craninia Pesame kuminga Eddie Bremo the mama ya sasi kudo at to say Oh my no Oh my no Yes and I hose Oh my full private jet Oh my no
Yeah, we go. Okay, this is my motherland, Lady Ghana tiny. Anything I go talk, we make a time. Bo, Bonia, hey, Bonnie Dana Fay, hey. Many me find the hickety and many one pay. Malaba, he can't find the badger in Cabo. What you look on in Yalawa, where me Cabo. I promise on my own, I'm over Pioneer and Shona. Pulling off a Mina Sana, the Bokuna no Shona.
Yawana, Human Chia Fico May, Cohen Kabila Capito. Wanda bumbanci mu daina zalunci ubangijin Allah wai ma sun wace ya fi komai annan Muhammad wai sallallahu alaihi wasallam sun wace ya fi komai iyayenmu wai ma sun wace ya fi komai
This is not a peace song, it's a love song. Peace and Ghana getting married, keep the love strong. See, a peace we cannot risk. War at home is like cardiac arrest, cause home is where the heart is. Let the trumpet sound victory. The battle that we won is a battle for a peace. We promise on an honor that we'll never fight again, cause Ghana is a happy place of joy we should defend.
Get up, what's up, motherland? I don't feel like Obidi and Afia. I'm in love with you now. Tamajiba Majihara Mabiatao Wasanya will a doji love for from Gakachale. How? From the big six, you still to fix things. Our Hamakafu was Chicago will reach us. If you don't make it be, nobody for fight, we don't need one of peace. Yeah, income boom, income boom. Hey, easy with it, huh? If you we to protect the nation, for the God that anyone I save it.
About the peace, hey, about our Somali, Herjan, about the PP, hey, I want to know. Now, Somali, walk, hey, from a wabo, what has some chon one six, and many bay use on Kenya, Shiwara, which has if you want to pay for Amazon, who are when you did your cocoto.